Let me begin with a question that might make you uncomfortable. When parents grow old, do they lose their value or do they unknowingly give it away? Today's title sounds shocking. In old age, don't visit your kids if you want to be respected. This is not a message of ego or distance, but a message of wisdom, self-respect, and emotional independence. Something reminds us of in his gentle yet powerful way. So listen carefully, because this talk is not just about old age. It's about dignity. Self-respect is the silent foundation upon which all genuine respect from others is built. It is not something that needs to be announced, defended, or demanded. It is something that is felt. In later stages of life, especially in the parent-child relationship, self-respect becomes even more critical because it defines how one is perceived, approached, and valued. When parents maintain dignity in their behavior, emotions, and decisions, they naturally command respect without asking for it. The moment self-respect weakens, respect from others begins to erode. Often quietly and unintentionally, many parents confuse sacrifice with self-respect. They believe that giving up everything for their children proves love and ensures honor in return. However, excessive sacrifice, when it erases personal identity, often produces the opposite effect. When parents continuously put themselves last, tolerate emotional discomfort, or suppress their own needs to keep others comfortable, they unknowingly communicate that their own value is negotiable. Human psychology responds to this subtle message. When someone treats themselves as less important, others, consciously or unconsciously, begin to do the same. Self-respect is reflected in boundaries. A parent who respects their own time, emotions, and space sends a powerful signal of emotional maturity. Such a parent does not intrude unnecessarily, does not seek validation through constant presence, and does not depend on their children for emotional stability. This independence is not coldness, it is strength. Children feel safer and more respectful toward parents who are emotionally grounded rather than emotionally dependent. Strength invites respect, while dependency often invites pity or avoidance. Another critical aspect of self-respect is emotional regulation. Parents who react calmly, speak thoughtfully, and avoid manipulation demonstrate inner stability. They do not remind their children of past sacrifices, nor do they use guilt as a tool for attention or affection. Emotional blackmail, even when subtle, damages respect because it shifts the relationship from love to obligation. When parents carry themselves with emotional balance, children are more inclined to listen, value opinions, and seek guidance willingly. Self-respect also shows in how parents handle disagreement. Parents who respect themselves do not argue to prove authority, nor do they surrender their values to avoid conflict. They express their views with clarity and calmness, accepting that differences are natural. This composed firmness earns admiration. Children may not always agree, but they recognize wisdom and confidence when they see it. Respect grows when authority is grounded in character rather than control. Living with self-respect also means continuing personal growth. Parents who remain intellectually curious, spiritually engaged, and socially connected demonstrate that life does not end when children grow up. This ongoing evolution keeps their presence inspiring rather than burdensome. Children respect parents who have a full life of their own, because such parents are not seen as waiting for attention. They are seen as choosing connection. Ultimately, self-respect is about how parents see themselves. When parents internally believe they deserve dignity, peace, and fulfillment, that belief shapes their actions, tone, and expectations. Others respond accordingly. Respect does not come from age alone, nor from sacrifice alone. It comes from the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth and lives in alignment with it. Constant availability is often mistaken for care, especially within families, but in reality, it quietly reduces perceived value. When a parent is always present, always ready to respond and always willing to adjust their life around their children's schedules. The intention may be love, yet the message received is different. Human behavior tends to normalize whatever is easily accessible. Over time, what is always available stops being appreciated, no matter how meaningful it once was. This is not a moral judgment, it is a psychological pattern. When parents make themselves constantly available, they unintentionally remove the sense of choice from the relationship. Visits become routine rather than special. Conversations feel expected rather than welcomed, and presence turns into background noise. Children do not consciously decide to value their parents less, but familiarity without boundaries gradually dulls appreciation. Scarcity, even in emotional relationships, creates awareness and gratitude. When something is not always there, its presence is felt more deeply. Emotional availability follows the same principle. Parents who are always ready to listen, fix problems, intervene, or rescue their children from discomfort may believe they are being supportive. However, this level of involvement can subtly communicate that the children are incapable of handling their own lives. At the same time, it communicates that the parent has no life beyond this role. Neither message inspires respect. Respect grows when parents are seen as stable individuals who choose to engage, not as people who exist solely on standby. Boundaries are essential to healthy availability. A parent who respects their own time demonstrates emotional maturity. This might mean not answering every call immediately, not visiting without purpose, or not rearranging personal commitments for minor issues. Such behavior is not neglect. It is self-respect in action. When children observe this, they learn that their parents' time and energy have value. As a result, when parents do engage, their presence carries more weight. There is also a deeper psychological dynamic at play. Constant availability can create a subtle power imbalance, where children unconsciously assume authority over the relationship. When parents are always adjusting and accommodating, the dynamic shifts from mutual respect to quiet entitlement. Over time, this can lead to dismissiveness, impatience, or emotional distance from the children. Healthy distance corrects this imbalance. It restores equality, where both sides recognize effort and choice. Purposeful absence often strengthens connection. Parents who have routines, social circles, interests, and responsibilities outside their children's lives project wholeness. Their absence is not felt as rejection, but as individuality. Children are more likely to initiate contact, value conversations, and seek advice when they sense that the relationship is not driven by need. When parents are not constantly available, children approach them with intention rather than habit. This principle does not deny affection or care, it refines it. Availability should be intentional, not automatic. When parents choose when and how to be present, their involvement becomes meaningful rather than expected. Presence then carries warmth instead of weight. Children sense this difference, even if they never articulate it. Ultimately, reducing constant availability is not about withdrawal, but about recalibrating the relationship. It shifts the dynamic from dependence to mutual respect. When parents honor their own lives, time, and emotional space, others learn to do the same. What is not always available is noticed, valued, and respected. A purpose-driven life gives structure, meaning, and quiet authority to a person at any stage of life, and in later years it becomes a powerful source of respect. When parents continue to live with intention, rather than drifting into emotional dependency, they communicate strength, relevance, and inner stability. Purpose signals that life is still active, evolving, and valuable, and this perception deeply influences how others respond to them. Children instinctively respect parents who remain engaged with life rather than those who appear to be waiting for attention. Purpose does not need to be grand or public. It can be spiritual practice, community service, mentoring, learning, creative work, or disciplined routines that bring fulfillment. What matters is the visible sense of direction. Parents who wake up with a reason beyond their children's schedules carry a different energy. Their conversations have depth, their presence feels grounded, and their opinions carry weight. This inner alignment naturally earns respect because it reflects self-mastery rather than emotional need. A purpose-driven parent is less likely to interfere unnecessarily in their children's lives. When personal fulfillment comes from within, there is no urge to control outcomes elsewhere. Such parents offer guidance when asked, not instructions imposed. This restraint builds trust. Children feel safe sharing their lives because they do not fear judgment or intrusion. Over time, this emotional safety strengthens respect as wisdom is received more openly when it is not forced. Living with purpose also protects parents from the subtle erosion of identity that can happen after children become independent. Without purpose, parents may unconsciously attempt to reclaim relevance by inserting themselves into decisions, routines, or conflicts that no longer require their involvement. This often leads to tension and resistance. In contrast, parents who have their own direction remain relevant without effort. Their relevance comes from insight, not interference. Children observe more than they listen. When they see parents investing in growth, discipline, and service, they absorb powerful lessons about aging with dignity. A parent who continues to learn, contribute, and evolve demonstrates that value does not decline with age. This silent example reshapes how children perceive them, not as someone who has completed life, but as someone who is still living it fully. Respect grows naturally in the presence of such vitality. Purpose also enhances emotional resilience. Parents who are anchored in meaning are less shaken by neglect, disagreement, or reduced dependence from their children. They do not interpret distance as rejection or independence as abandonment. This emotional steadiness prevents reactive behavior such as complaints, guilt, or comparison. Children respond positively to this calm strength. They feel less pressure and more appreciation in the relationship. There is also an important social dimension. Parents with purpose often maintain relationships beyond their immediate family. They engage with peers, communities, or causes that value their contribution. This external validation reduces the need for constant affirmation from children when parents are respected in the world outside the family. That respect often echoes within the family as well. Ultimately, a purpose-driven life transforms the parent-child relationship from dependency to admiration. Parents are no longer seen as needing attention, but as individuals worth seeking. Their words carry clarity, their silence carries peace, and their presence carries meaning. Purpose does not distance parents from their children, it elevates them in their children's eyes. Love that relies on control or guilt may appear strong on the surface, but it quietly weakens the emotional foundation of a relationship. When parents remind their children of sacrifices, hardships, or responsibilities to secure attention or obedience, the intention may be closeness, yet the effect is distance. Guilt does not deepen love, it distorts it. Over time, relationships sustained by emotional pressure lose warmth and replace it with obligation. And obligation rarely inspires respect. Many parents unknowingly use guilt as a language of love. Statements that highlight suffering or self-denial are often meant to express care, but they subtly place emotional debt on the child. This debt creates anxiety rather than connection. Children may comply outwardly, but internally they feel burdened. When affection is tied to repayment, love stops feeling voluntary. Respect cannot grow in an environment where emotions are used as leverage. Control follows a similar pattern. Parents who attempt to manage decisions, choices, or outcomes in their children's adult lives often believe they are protecting them. However, excessive involvement communicates a lack of trust. It suggests that the child is incapable of handling responsibility independently. This undermines confidence and breeds resistance. Respect diminishes not because guidance is unwelcome, but because autonomy is denied. Guidance offered with out-control is received as wisdom. Guidance enforced through pressure is experienced as interference. True love creates emotional freedom. It allows children to make choices, learn from consequences, and develop their own identity. Parents who love without control understand that their role evolves over time. They shift from directing to supporting, from instructing to listening. This transition requires emotional maturity as it asks parents to release authority without losing relevance. When done well, it strengthens respect because children feel trusted rather than managed. Guilt-based communication also damages self-respect on both sides. Parents who repeatedly highlight sacrifice place themselves in a position of moral superiority. Yet this stance isolates them emotionally. Children may feel unable to express boundaries or disagreement without appearing ungrateful. Over time, suppressed emotions surface as avoidance, irritation, or emotional withdrawal. Respect fades because the relationship no longer feels emotionally safe or equal. Love without guilt is rooted in acceptance. Parents who practice this form of love offer support without expectation and care without conditions. They do not keep score of past efforts, nor do they seek validation through reminders of hardship. Their presence feels light rather than heavy. Children naturally gravitate toward such parents because interactions are free from emotional tension. Respect grows in spaces where one can breathe. Letting go of control also allows parents to be seen as wise rather than authoritative. Wisdom invites curiosity and dialogue, while authority demands compliance. Adult children are far more likely to seek advice from parents who respect their independence. When parents speak without insisting on being followed, their words carry greater influence. Respect is strengthened not by dominance, but by discernment. Emotionally healthy parents understand that love is not proven by how much one gives up, but by how peacefully one gives. They recognize that their sacrifices were choices made out of love, not transactions requiring repayment. This mindset removes resentment and expectation from the relationship. Children sense this freedom and respond with genuine appreciation rather than forced gratitude. When love is expressed without control or guilt, it becomes empowering rather than binding. It creates relationships based on choice, not pressure. In such relationships, respect is not demanded or negotiated. It emerges naturally from mutual emotional clarity and trust. When parents constantly seek attention, approval, or emotional reassurance from their children, the relationship gradually shifts from connection to pursuit. This pursuit, even when driven by love, can create emotional fatigue and quiet resistance. Letting children come to you is not an act of withdrawal, it is an act of confidence. It reflects inner fullness rather than emotional need. Relationships built on invitation rather than pursuit are always stronger because they are rooted in choice. Human relationships thrive when there is space to move freely. When parents repeatedly initiate contact, insist on frequent visits, or seek constant updates, children may begin to feel monitored rather than cared for. This sense of being watched can limit openness. In contrast, when parents create space, children feel trusted. Trust strengthens bonds more effectively than constant proximity. When children approach their parents voluntarily, the interaction carries warmth instead of obligation. There is also an emotional signal embedded in pursuit. When parents chase attention, it suggests that their emotional well-being depends on their children's responses. This places unspoken pressure on the relationship. Children may feel responsible for maintaining their parents' happiness, which can lead to avoidance rather than closeness. Letting children come to you removes this burden. It communicates emotional independence, which is deeply attractive in any relationship. Respect grows in environments where effort is mutual. When one side does all the reaching out, the relationship becomes unbalanced. Children may unconsciously reduce their effort because the connection feels guaranteed. When parents step back, children become more aware of the relationship's value. Initiative returns naturally. Contact becomes intentional rather than habitual. This shift often leads to more meaningful conversations and deeper appreciation. Waiting does not mean indifference. It means responding fully when approached, rather than constantly initiating. Parents who master this balance remain emotionally available without being emotionally demanding. Their responses are calm, warm, and attentive, not urgent or anxious. Children sense this emotional steadiness and feel safe, reconnecting on their own terms. Safety encourages closeness more than pressure ever could. Letting children come to you also allows parents to observe without interfering. Distance offers clarity. Parents can better understand their children's lives, struggles, and growth when they are not constantly involved. This clarity enhances the quality of guidance when it is offered. Advice given at the right moment, rather than repeatedly, carries far greater impact and is more likely to be respected. There is also dignity in being sought rather than pursuing. Parents who live full lives do not appear to be waiting for validation. Their time, energy, and presence feel valuable. When children initiate contact with such parents, it is often out of genuine desire rather than obligation. This voluntary connection is emotionally richer and more sustainable. Allowing children to approach on their own terms also respects their stage of life. Adult children juggle responsibilities, pressures, and identities of their own. Parents who acknowledge this without complaint or comparison show emotional intelligence. This understanding deepens trust. Children feel accepted rather than judged, which encourages more open and honest interaction. Letting children come to you transforms the relationship from dependence to mutual respect. It removes anxiety and replaces it with assurance. In this space, love flows naturally, effort is shared, and connection feels chosen rather than required. Emotional and mental independence in later life is one of the most powerful yet misunderstood forms of strength. Many parents equate independence with distance or coldness, but in reality, independence creates stability, clarity, and dignity. When parents are emotionally self-sufficient, they stop seeking validation, reassurance, or identity through their children. This shift changes how they are perceived. Instead of appearing fragile or dependent, they appear grounded and resilient. Such presence naturally commands respect. Emotional independence begins with responsibility for one's inner state. Parents who rely on their children for happiness, peace, or a sense of worth unintentionally transfer emotional weight onto them. Children may feel obligated to check in, appease moods, or manage feelings that are not theirs to carry. Over time, this burden strains the relationship. In contrast, parents who regulate their emotions internally create emotional safety. Children can engage without fear of causing hurt or disappointment. Safety is a quiet but powerful foundation for respect. Mental independence is equally significant. Parents who can think clearly, make decisions confidently, and hold opinions without imposing them demonstrate intellectual maturity. They do not panic when their children disagree, nor do they feel threatened by differing values or lifestyles. This mental steadiness communicates wisdom rather than rigidity. Children may not always follow their parents' advice, but they recognize strength in those who can stand calmly without needing constant agreement. Independence also reshapes communication. Emotionally independent parents speak from choice, not compulsion. They share thoughts without expecting approval and listen without preparing defense. Conversations feel lighter, more open, and more respectful. When parents are not seeking something from the exchange, their words carry authenticity. Children sense this and respond with greater openness and honesty. There is dignity in self-reliance. Parents who manage their daily lives, routines, and challenges without constant assistance signal competence. This does not mean rejecting help when needed. It means not defining oneself by need. Children respect parents who ask for help without helplessness and accept support without entitlement. This balance reinforces equality rather than hierarchy or dependency. Independence also protects parents from emotional manipulation, disappointment, and resentment. When expectations are minimal and self-generated, unmet hopes cause less pain. Parents who are independent do not measure love by frequency of contact or gestures of attention. They appreciate what is offered rather than suffer over what is missing. This emotional resilience prevents reactive behavior, such as complaints, comparisons, or withdrawal. Calm consistency strengthens respect far more than emotional fluctuation. Living independently also allows parents to model strength for future generations. Children observe how parents age, cope, and adapt. When they see independence paired with grace, it reshapes their understanding of aging itself. Parents become examples of how to grow older without shrinking emotionally or mentally. This example often leaves a deeper impact than advice ever could. Independence transforms parents into anchors rather than dependents. Anchors do not pull, they hold steady. Their presence is reassuring, not demanding. Children return to such parents for perspective, grounding, and wisdom. They feel free to come closer because they are not required to carry emotional responsibility. When parents embrace emotional and mental independence, they reclaim authority without control and closeness without dependency. Their strength is quiet, but unmistakable. In that strength, respect does not need to be requested. It arrives naturally, shaped by admiration rather than obligation. So remember this lesson. Respect in old age is not demanded, it is commanded through self-respect. Live your life fully. Grow spiritually. Stay joyful. Stay independent. Visit your children with love, not need. Because when parents stand tall on their own, children bow naturally, not out of duty, but out of respect. Thank you.